Hello everybody. Welcome to the fourth video in the Safe Passage series. For those of you who may only be tuning into this one initially, I just want to explain that the name of the series recognizes the fact that really safety is what we all want through this COVID-19 crisis. And I had written a poem one time called Safe Passage, which was inspired by the beautiful painting behind me, the artist of which is Jennifer Stenberg from Arts on 10 in Flesherton. And I just want to thank you very much for all your positive responses because they are so motivating for me to continue, and for all the shares that are putting my voice out there literally around the world. It means so much to me. Thank you. I have been thinking a lot about the struggles that happen these days in this unprecedented set of circumstances in our generation. And I think about personal struggles that people have and how I have met people in my life who seem really burdened with more than their share of a physical struggle. And one such person was a man named Lou. And I met Lou when I worked at a chronic care convalescent hospital in Toronto. For those of you who've watched all the videos, it probably is becoming apparent that I have done a great number of jobs in my circuitous journey through this world. And I am very grateful to each one of them because they've given me a really broad perspective on human nature and a great respect and appreciation for the resilience of the human spirit. So at this hospital, I worked for a couple years as a personnel officer full-time, and then I returned to university to pursue another path. And during my summers and holiday times, I would return to the hospital and work in different departments. So on one such stretch of time, I was working on a medical ward as a unit receptionist, or I believe it was called ward clerk at that time. And I had just started, and the nurse manager came along and said, "Oh, I just want to let you know that soon the call light will come on in that room down the hall, and that'll be Lou. And he will need you to come and turn over his cassette tape for his talking books." So sure enough, in a few minutes, the call light went on, and I'm walking down the hall toward his room, and remembering what I had heard about this young man. He had been a very promising, gifted medical student who on just a little afternoon outing was playing football with some friends in a park. And I guess the grass was wet because one of his friends slid on the grass during a tackle, and his foot went into Lou's neck and severed the spinal cord. So that left Lou as a quadriplegic. He had no movement beyond just his head. From his neck down, he could not move his body. And when I went into his room, I walked over to the bed where he was lying, and I looked down into this pair of riveting, dark, intelligent eyes, and we made an immediate connection. And I do have to admit that at that moment I fell a little bit in love with this man. And as the weeks went by, we formed a friendship and a brief romance, and I was continually inspired by how he did not let his physical limitations define his life. He was able to have an electric wheelchair that he operated just by moving his head. And he learned to operate with a mouth stick, a computer, in an office that was set up for him at the hospital. And this was long before personal computers became second nature to us. So he was quite a visionary, really. And we would go out into the community sometimes by the grace of Wheel-Trans. And it was so apparent to me how very limiting his condition was because he didn't have the luxury to just pick up a glass of wine and toast the future, and he required help with feeding, but everything was always in good humor and grace, and I felt very honored, very privileged to be with him. So as his birthday approached, I asked him what he might like, and he said that he really didn't need anything, but he would kind of like it if I wrote him a poem. So I'm going to share that poem with you today. It was originally called Lou, but subsequently has been renamed From the Heart. And this was actually the first poem that was accepted to publication in an anthology, so it has a little special meaning for me as well. But it was written for Lou. Like pink cotton candy that melts in my mouth, elusive with sweetness that beckons for more. Like fresh mountain breezes that stir my heart's joy, with memories of beauty a heart hungers for. You make me remember the fragrance of lilacs that bathe me with wonder, a spirit made whole. With the comfort of waves as they break on the shore, you bring me your treasures for my outstretched soul. You are music and laughter and hologram magic, the sunset at evening with colors sublime. Like words from the poets that answer my longing, you are all precious moments suspended in time. And that's, in a way, how I felt about Lou's dreams when he had his accident. They were suspended in time. But the fact of that did not limit him in any way. He continued to grow and evolve and just became such an inspiration to others. And it reminded me in years since that I had a perfect example of a phrase that I saw on a bulletin in a wonderful place called Unity on the Eastern Shore in Fairhope, Alabama. It's a wonderful group of congregation there that welcome me when I'm in that area. And this is what it said in the bulletin. It said, "We are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. On earth, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience." And it seems to me that we're here to help each other through that physical experience so that we can all grow and evolve and find our soul's purpose. So when I look back at that time, to me, Lou is one of my shining fragments of happiness. And that's not an original phrase. That's from a poem that I'd like to leave you with that was written by Priscilla Leonard. It's a great example of a simile. You know, that poetic element where you compare something to another with the use of the word like or as. And in her poem, Priscilla says, "Happiness is like a crystal, fair and exquisite and clear, broken in a million pieces, shattered, scattered far and near. Now and then along life's pathway, lo, some shining fragments fall. But it has so many pieces, no one ever finds them all. You may find a bit of beauty or an honest share of wealth, while another, right beside you, gathers honor, love, or health. Vain to choose or grasp unduly, broken is the perfect ball, and it has so many pieces, no one ever finds them all. But the wise, as on they journey, treasure every fragment clear, fit them as they may together, imaging the shattered sphere, learning ever to be grateful, though their share of it is small, for it has so many pieces, no one ever finds them all." And during this time when really everyone's life has been altered quite substantially, I hope that you continue to find shining fragments of happiness. We might have to look a little harder these days sometimes, but they're out there. And sometimes we just have to strive to be happy. That was a reminder from Max Ehrmann in Desiderata when he ends his beautiful passage. He says that you are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. So till I talk to you next, let's strive to be happy. And thank you for listening.